There's no such thing as a small disaster. So when you call 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota, we come prepared to restore your life back to normal. From burst pipes to unexpected mold discoveries or fire damage, when things couldn't be worse, we come to you with our best. With empathy, local expertise, and a truck full of seriously powerful equipment. 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota. Restoring what matters most. 701-670-2022.
Good morning and welcome to this Valley News Now weather update brought to you by 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota. I'm meteorologist Lisa Green with a look at round two. Here we go. We're keeping an eye out for our next system that's already bringing some impacts to the region. Not quite moving into the Red River Valley just yet, but it is approaching and we will feel the impacts of it increasingly as the day goes on. So we've got a lot to talk about here today. So let's get right into it. So again, this is the second of 3 first alert weather days. We're kind of in the midst of a break in between the 2 rounds. The first one moved through. We'll do a little recap of that really quick. And then we'll see some conditions that are going to pick up heading into... Sorry, I've got my volume turned up here that I shouldn't. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, first of all, let's get into what's happening out there right now and the impacts from the latest round. Again, you can see it looks like winter out there because we've got fresh snow on the ground at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds Skycam. And this is an area that's picked up Fargo, West Fargo, Moorhead, about 3.5 inches of snow from our latest round. So this is not a complete list here, but a list of some of our snow reports that have come in. You can see Thief River Falls was our top report so far at 8 inches of snow. And then Park Rapids got 6.5, Bemidji 6. So a lot of places in our eastern viewing area saw the heaviest amounts. And then into Grand Forks, we had 4 inches of snow. And again, Fargo, Moorhead, about 3.5 inches of snow. And it was heavy, wet snow. At my house, we had a hard time, even just snow blowing 3.5 inches of snow because it was so heavy and wet. It was getting stuck in the snowblower. And unfortunately, we're kind of doubling that potentially and seeing that snow on the wet side for the second round as well. So let's take a look at some conditions here as we go into hit the roads here this morning. I know a lot of people off and out of school on this Good Friday, and so maybe you're trying to hit the road and get to your destinations. Well, you can see that there are already some areas that have some lingering impacts from our recent round of wintry weather. We're looking at some blue and some pink on the map there and on our road conditions map. And I'm going to zoom out to show you that it's very snowy, icy as well. I just got a report from our morning producer who is on the road right now heading into South Dakota, and she just sent me a quick text and told me that roads are really bad there, that they're just not fun. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about heading south into South Dakota. We did get a report of some tough roads heading down toward along I-29 is the direction of travel from that report. So let's take a look at a more detailed view of our road conditions. This is the Valley News Live weather page or homepage. Let's go to our weather page here. And you can see that we've got road conditions as one of the options on our list. Let's take a look at South Dakota first actually we'll do North Dakota and then we'll bounce off from there. So again, North Dakota, you can see some areas where we have some wet roads in the darker blue color. Here's our legend here to give you an idea. Areas in purple, snow or scattered snow. And then there are some icy patches up in northeastern North Dakota where we have some ice or compacted snow. And then over by Jamestown as well. These yellow W diamonds either indicate road work or some warnings going on. Looks like there's some broken pavement there. That looks like Highway 30 where that is happening. So some issues there. So again, that's North Dakota. Let's take a quick look at our cameras, see if we've got anything going on. This is between Ashley and Ellendale. I don't see any snow coming down in this area just yet. And looking fairly quiet into the Foreman area and then down by the state line. It doesn't look too bad at the moment. So not really starting up just yet, North Dakota. Minnesota, similar. I'm not even going to click on, I'll click on Minnesota to show you the remnants of road conditions from the last round. You can see that we've got some highlights here. I'm going to turn off the weather warning. We'll show you that in a moment, just so we can focus on road conditions. A lot of places in blue, and you have to hover over it to see the details. So Highway 11, roadway partially covered with slush. So some areas where we're still dealing with the impacts in Minnesota from the first round. Now let's go to South Dakota because that's where we got that report just a little bit ago. And looks like we've got some issues on the roadways here. So they have, every state has a different color contour and legend here. So you can see it's a little more detailed in South Dakota as well. Anywhere in pink, we're looking at scattered ice, slippery roads. Looks like we've got some red on the map here north of Sisseton. Looks like we have to hold it there. Highway 10. Near Sisseton, the roads, oh, there's construction. Okay. I was like, that must be a really icy patch right there. Let's look at our camera here. This doesn't look terrible, but again, ice can be hard to see sometimes. And it looks like we've got some precip coming down. And actually, I don't know if I can expand this view here. You can see with this semi, it looks like it's stirring up some areas of precip that's on the road behind it. So it might be hitting some wet pavement. Maybe there's some ice going on there down by Sisseton. It can be hard to tell sometimes on these cameras, but that is a look at the Sisseton area. There's some precip coming down there now. And let's move over a little ways, and we've got some snow definitely coming down around Lake City, and it's starting to accumulate on the road there. So, you know, we do have some viewers down in that area, so it's starting up for you right now, and gradually this will start moving north. Let's move it toward this is the Frederick camera, just south of Ellendale. I'm not seeing too much going on here just yet. Okay, so that's a look at the latest road conditions. You can also check for, let's see here, road conditions in Manitoba, if you were thinking about heading in that direction in the coming days as well. And then back to our weather page, other options. You can look at sky cams around the region. I can pull up, let's see, our tower cam. No, let's look at the Dakota Magic Casino sky cam, because that's our sky cam down in that same area where we're starting to see precip over the state line. Not seeing anything right now, but can keep an eye on this too. Okay, let's get back to our weather graphics, get back to what we have going on in the forecast here. You can see the precip looming. It's starting to move into places in the far southern valley, getting ready to cross over the state line into North Dakota. It looks like west central Minnesota. You might be getting some snow at the moment as well. And so that area is an area to watch too. Places like Wheaton and down toward Graceville, maybe seeing some precip already. And I'm just quickly looking at, I'll move over to that again. I just pulled up, because I was seeing that on the radar, I just pulled up the Graceville DOT cam in Minnesota, and you can see that there's some moisture on the camera, looks like on the road as well. So starting to see it come down in west central Minnesota. But I also want to point out just how nice and quiet it is north. We're getting a break there. It's going to take a minute, but eventually this is all lifting north and eastward and will affect more places in the Red River Valley over time. So if you're in southeastern North Dakota, be prepared, you know, as we go into midday, early afternoon, for the snow to start taking over. If you're up by Roseau, it might not be until late tonight that you see this. So again, that timeline is different depending on where you are. Let's zoom out a little bit more and show you the overview of all of this moisture. So what's interesting here is you can see that we've got some areas of purple and of pink on the map here, and that's the radar indicating that there's, you know, some mixture going on here, some melting happening. So likely some sleet or some freezing rain or a mix down by Watertown, down towards Sioux Falls. It looks like it's been a bit of a mix. Then you can see it's as it moves northward and some colder air gets more involved, you can see it stays as snow. But the bright white that can sometimes, as snow starts to melt, it becomes highly reflective to the radar. The wet liquid on those flakes becomes highly reflective, so it looks like the snow may be heavier than it is. This is something called bright banding, so that might be happening here where it's not necessarily super heavy, but we're seeing some of that melting going on. It could be heavier snow, so be prepared for that too. And then looking back over toward Bismarck and back into northern parts of South Dakota, you can see that large snow shield there. And that is an area to watch for issues with snow and impacts to your travel as well coming up for today. So if you're heading west, it's going to be snowing there sooner than, say, in Fargo right now. Even though Fargo's in the Southern Valley, it's a little more west that we're seeing that. So I'm going to pull up our map again for North Dakota, and you can see the purple here as that snow is accumulating. I just clicked on the flasher camera, and you can see that snow coating the roads there. So it's already starting up in places. There's Hazelton, Fort Yates, seeing the snow on the road surface there. So it's starting up already and moving into the Bismarck area. And this is the Mandan, one of the Mandan cameras, and you can see there it's snowing in Bismarck and Mandan right now. So driving in that direction, you're going to run into it. Okay, back to the map. You can see that again. That's all lifting north and east, and eventually this all comes our way and fills in over the valley over time. So let's take a look at the latest. We've got our winter storm warning that is in effect this afternoon for most areas. Generally, just expect for it to start up as the day goes on today. There's a staggered start time depending on where you are. And then this lasts into Saturday. And this covers areas where it's more likely that we'll see at least 6 inches of snow. Some places a lot more than that within this range. And it doesn't mean that every single spot in this warned area gets 6 inches, but the potential is there. So we need to keep that in mind as we're making our plans coming up here for the next 24 to 36 hours. And then surrounding areas under that winter weather advisory, you can see down into Watertown, back over to St. Cloud, and then back up toward Devil's Lake, Langdon, and even Kitson County and western Marshall County in Minnesota included in that winter weather advisory in blue. And that's because while we are expecting snow there, the heaviest snow may not quite make it that far north, or it may just not snow as long there as it will in other places, so it won't build up as much. And here's a look at our snow map. Now, again, just want to make sure we take this as more of a general guideline instead of we're getting this exact amount. It's important with winter systems. They don't always follow exactly the contours of a forecast model, but you can see there's a large area here in deep blue that includes places in southeastern North Dakota, back through much of northwest Minnesota, and that Highway 200 corridor, and then back up toward Baudette. This is where we're looking at the potential, and again, this matches up pretty well with our winter storm warning. We're looking at heavy snow, that at least 6-inch range, up to 12 inches of snow in some spots. And there may even be some pockets here you see in purple where we're looking at that, 12 plus possibility. So, Bemidji, that may be you, but this could shift a little south. It depends on where that heavier snow band sets up. But that potential is there, that locally we may see a little bit more than that. And then you see that drop off happening as we head up to the northwest. So Grand Forks, you might be more, we're in the 3 to 6 range here. We could be more like 4 to 7 there. And then Devil's Lake, more around 3 inches of snow, and then lesser amounts, again, dropping off the farther north you go. So that gives you an idea of what we're expecting. This is going to be a heavier snow than the last one. And the last one was heavy, wet snow. This one is as well. So let's talk about the travel planner here as you're getting ready to hit the road. Best travel times right now, I want to stress our best travel times are going to be right now and leading up to before the snow reaches your area. So for some of us, that's already passed. We're already seeing the snow. Other places it might not be until we get into the late night hours tonight that you start to see that snow move in. But right now, before wherever you are, if the snow hasn't moved in yet, now is the better time to travel, even though we know we have lingering snow and ice on the roads to watch out for from the last round. And then heading into Sunday would probably be the next best time. In between, we've got some messy conditions going on, that snow coming down. So let's get right to it again in our Easter travel planner. So we've got this morning break that a lot of us have been experiencing for travel with the lingering impacts from round 1. So again, we've got that caution light for that, medium impact kind of travel. But once we get into this afternoon and into tonight, we'll see conditions worsen. So that heavy snow lifts in from south to north, as we've been talking about. We'll have some slick roads developing more, some reduced visibility because of the snow falling. I don't expect a lot of wind today, so it's more the impact of the snowfall, and where we have heavier snow, your visibility is going to be down. And then the snow just adds up overnight and into Saturday morning. So then Saturday morning, I think will probably be our toughest travel time, because we'll have the same conditions, more of us with the snow coming down, and then we'll already have built up some snow on the roads that we're also trying to navigate too. So again, heavy wet snow accumulations. We'll also be getting windier on Saturday into the afternoon hours, especially as the system begins its departure. The wind will pick up behind it, and so that will also contribute to the hazardous travel that I'm expecting on Saturday. Now, Easter Sunday, not given the green light. We have the first alert weather days today and tomorrow, not Sunday. That doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. It won't. We'll still be dealing with icy, snowy roads left over from the snow that moved through. And then we'll also have some wind. So, the snow is wet and heavy, but there may still be the opportunity for some of it to get blown around by some winds and a little bit of ground drifting coming up for Easter Sunday too. So kind of looking at a map of travel impacts if you're traveling beyond the valley. This evening, you can see where they're going to be greatest. Here, right here, we're in the bullseye. And then stretching south from there into other parts of the Midwest, back down into the plains where we're expecting thunderstorms, that potential for some severe weather going on in those locations. So that is going to be something to be prepared for if you're traveling in that direction. And, those storms also possible stretching across parts of the Ohio River Valley and back east too. So bullseye for the strongest severe storms. We do have an enhanced risk for the Iowa, Missouri line area. That's where the greatest risk is for all modes of severe weather. And then, of course, we need to focus in on our area. So heading into this evening, you can see major travel impacts likely into the valley, and that will be lifting northward. So eventually that shifts as we head into Saturday. You can see, let me go back and zoom in on that again. I think I double clicked that. Saturday, so here's Friday evening. We'll zoom back in. And then Saturday, you can see that that heavier snow continues right over the valley, especially in the eastern part of North Dakota, and then stretching into Minnesota as the system starts to move east and we start quieting things down out to the western parts of the Dakotas, that is. So travel impacts will continue into Saturday. And again, if you're traveling elsewhere, that severe weather threat shifts a little farther east, but kind of stays in some of the same areas, more into Chicago, back into Michigan, and then back into the plains again. So traveling in that direction, you're going to be running into the potential for some strong storms. Okay, let's get to the timeline. So here's a look at 11 o'clock. It's about a half hour from now. And we also want to make sure we're, seeing how our models initiate. And we do that by checking the models against the radar. And so is the initial, couple of hours in our model run matching up with our current radar? If it is, then that gives us more confidence that this model might have a good handle on the current situation and therefore may be able to have a good handle on what's going to happen coming up in the future. So we always look at that when we're looking at different models and deciding, which one we think has got the scenario in check a little bit more than others. So this model, we'll bring it back up, is kind of in line with what we have been seeing on the radar. It's filling in northeastern South Dakota. We're seeing that snow lifting north toward Bismarck. There are areas of some freezing rain and mix going on that warmer side of the system. So let's take a look at what this model is thinking as we go through time. So as we head into the 5 o'clock hour this evening, you can see it's going to be slow moving. We will see that chance for some snow, perhaps a little freezing drizzle initially mixed in there too, or a mix of precip, lifting in more into North Dakota, whereas Minnesota may still be quieter. It doesn't mean we won't not see snow. You can see these scattered snow areas in Minnesota around 5 p.m., but that more steady, widespread, uniform snow continues more into North Dakota at that point. Now moving on into the evening, 10 o'clock, more areas of widespread snow continue, and this continues to take over the valley as we make our way overnight and into Saturday morning. And we looked at that snowfall amount graphic just a little bit ago. Notice how there's a cutoff here. So where this sets up, that's going to make a big difference between, say, 3 to 6 inches of snow and maybe a dusting, So again, this is where it's a little more uncertain about how much snow we're going to see, and we're definitely expecting several inches of snow right in the heart of this snow shield that's going to take over. You can see temperatures below freezing tomorrow morning as this is falling, so snow sticking for sure. And with the heavy snowfall rates as well, that's going to accumulate quickly. And those snowfall rates, you can see some deeper blues and these little flecks of white showing up here. You can see a little better outside of the temperature area. That's where the snowfall rate is heavier. And so as we go through time on Saturday morning, you can see some of these heavier pockets of snow, especially over places where I showed you that snow map where we may see that, those localized areas of 12 plus inches. So over toward the east and then Lakes Country, though heavy snow will continue into southeastern North Dakota through the morning too. Moving on into midday, we're starting to come down from that snow out to the west. That Highway 281 corridor, starting to see some ending to it. Wind is picking up though behind the system, that wraparound wind. We're looking at gusts getting into that 30-mile-per-hour range. And so anywhere where that combo is happening, where snow is falling, our visibility is going to be impacted. And then also looking at the east, still getting some pockets of heavy snow heading into the noon hour Saturday. Moving on into that 3:30-ish time frame, you can see winds still gusting to 30. Eastern North Dakota, it's really quieting down, though we're still getting some areas of snow at that point and still dealing with snow in Minnesota. So again, last to see it arrive, last to see it leave in places like Baudette and Bemidji. So you're going to be dealing with that snow even into potentially dinner time, even a little bit afterward on Saturday evening. So that clears away and we get a break. We get to breathe a little bit from the snow, at least as we head into Saturday night and head into our plans for Easter Sunday. So again, there's that view of that map again. You can see that heavier snow is going to be in this the kind of deeper blue area. And it's possible this shifts a little farther north or a little farther south. But in general, there's going to be a lot of areas within this range. And then that drop off that happens to the north and west. Okay, so let's talk about Easter weekend here. So we've got our first alert weather days for Friday, for Saturday, for those snow chances. Saturday, the wind picks up and temperatures, top in the mid 30s. So that might help with, some of our roads. Maybe areas that have had some ice or snow on them get a little more slushy, a little bit of melting happening during the daytime. But you can see at night we go back below freezing, so that gets locked back in on untreated roads. And then Easter Sunday, back into some 30s and above freezing, but we've got that wind. And so there is that potential for a little bit of light ground drifting on Easter Sunday, even though the snow will have been over at that point. So let's take a look at our wind gust forecast. This is just an overview, so we're not including numbers here, just showing you that, areas in yellow here, those are wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour. And we're going to be on the lookout for some orange pockets, that 30 plus range, as we look at this through the weekend. So this is today around 1 p.m. We might have some gusts going into some 20s, but it really isn't looking super windy, which is great as the snow is moving in. And then moving into Saturday, unfortunately, as the system starts to depart, we'll start to see that wind pick up. So you can see some yellow on the map there, and then some areas of orange, especially in the southeast, where we have that possibility for wind gusts reaching 30 or even topping 30. I don't expect us to be on the high end, the high bounds of that range. It'll be more low to mid 30s for gusts with this round. So that happens for the afternoon, and then as we head into the night, we start to quiet down. And then I do want to take a look at Sunday. You can see that there is that potential for some gusts, that top 30 miles per hour, to take over Sunday afternoon and into the evening. And so that could lead to a little bit of drifting snow going on Sunday. But then that kind of moves eastward over time. And one more thing to talk about here as far as the system is concerned is the moisture in it. So again, a heavy wet snow. We're looking at I've paused this at a random time, close to 2 a.m. on Monday morning, but you could see that we've got a large area in the green, a ½ inch to an inch of liquid moisture. This is like how much water is in the snow. And then there are areas where we've got some pockets of yellow, and that is 1 inch plus. And so that's a lot of water, a lot of moisture in the snow. And something we're going to be watching for again into next week as the snow starts to melt. We'll be watching for that potential for and then this goes ahead for a full 7 days, so a full week out through Thursday night. you can see that there are a couple more chances for some liquid moisture in the system. But again, we've got some higher rivers right now, and so we want it to melt to move into spring, but we want it to melt slowly so that 1 inch of liquid moisture doesn't just all enter the system at once. So we'll be watching that next week. Here's our 11-day planner, looking at conditions that are going to be on the unsettled side heading into our Easter weekend. So again, for this Good Friday, if you have services you're going to, or maybe you've been since this morning, it's a lot better right now into the afternoon than it will be heading into the afternoon and into tonight. And then moving on into Saturday, I think Saturday morning going to be some of our toughest travel, though this may continue through the daytime hours on Saturday. And then moving on into Easter Sunday, still some wind, but the snow ends. And then next week, starting off, a little bit of moisture on Monday, but you can see that temperatures are going to be on the rise. So by midweek, we're in the 40s to 50 and more 40s to come heading into next weekend. And so that will get that melting process going from the system that we are experiencing right now, or we did experience, and we will continue to watch out for that next one moving in as we head into later today. So I do want to do one more thing. Yesterday I tried to do my Learning with Lisa, and we do those every Thursday at 10:30, and the audio wasn't working. So I promised I would do it just really quickly, go over what we ended up seeing with the Artemis launch. I was going to talk about how weather can impact rocket launches here. So let's do it. Let's get into it. In my Learning with Lisa segment, we'll just do this really quick, and maybe we'll take a look at where Artemis is right now. And I want to show you, this is really cool. This photo was taken from the Orion capsule, and it's the Artemis mission and then the Orion rocket. So it was taken yesterday of the Earth, and it's just such a cool shot. You can see a couple of things I want to point out. You can see the aurora to the north, or this is actually the south. This is the southern hemisphere, and then a little bit of the aurora in the northern hemisphere as well. And the reason I say it's the southern hemisphere, because if you look closely, this landmass, this is the Sahara Desert. This is Africa. Here is the Strait of Gibraltar, and here is Spain. And you can see the lights of Madrid right there in the middle of the Iberian Peninsula. So really cool view that they were able to see as they continue their mission heading to the moon. So again, the Artemis launch, there's some specific weather criteria that need to happen for that launch to happen. So these are some of the things that they were making sure they were watching during the launch. The launch was scheduled at 5:24, but it actually happened at 5:35 on Wednesday. And at the time, the launch day weather risk was 20%, which means on the flip side, it was 80% go. So turns out that 80% won out, and they ended up being able to launch, and the weather cooperated with that. So that was really, really cool to see. Hopefully you got to see it live. Otherwise, the videos are everywhere. It's really cool. So anyway, launch conditions that are required, and it depends on a lot of things. Temperature does. So like if say there are more wind, then the temperature minimum would be higher, that kind of thing. Humidity plays a factor in it too. But in general, they were looking at anywhere between 38 degrees and 94.5 degrees. You don't want to be too cold or too hot. Wind needs to be less than that 33 mile per hour mark. That was the bounds for this particular launch. Of course, we don't want any precip or any lightning, no thick clouds for the rocket to have to travel through. And there are a lot of other cloud rules that are included with these launches, and you don't want decaying thunderstorms or certain types of clouds within a certain distance of the launch pad. For example, cumulus clouds, they have a lot of upward growth, and they can have more ice crystals in them, and that can be a factor for when the launch happens, interacting with that cloud if it's within a close enough distance to create lightning. So certain things you got to watch out for, not having certain clouds too close to the launch pad. So everything has to come together weather-wise on top of all of the technology that has to come together to have a successful launch. So it's amazing that we're able to do this, and of course weather plays a role. So it's such a cool thing to talk about here. And I do want to pull up a live view from the Orion spaceship here. You can see that this live view, I think it's hard to say. I believe that's the moon, but I'm not 100% sure in the distance there. Could be pointing back at the Earth too. It's kind of a blurry view. But you can see the part of the spacecraft that is on the left-hand side of the screen that the camera is attached to it. So it's so cool to be able to follow along on this journey. And it did do, what was that called again? I need to look it up. The burn yesterday to send it on its way to the moon after it orbited the Earth initially after that launch. So it is on its way, and looking at, I can pull this up too. I've been monitoring it on the NASA website. You can follow along there as well. The Artemis 2 here, and you can see that it's currently traveling at 4,000 miles per hour toward the moon, and distance from the Earth is growing. It's currently 9,500 or 95,250 miles or so away from the Earth, and it's getting closer to the moon at 160, we'll round up, 165,000 miles, which is so cool. And if you expand the view here, you can actually see where it is on its journey to the moon. I'll zoom out a little bit. Here's Orion, the spacecraft. The next point here is the OTC burn, and that's when the Orion service module performs several burns to ensure the spacecraft remains on the correct trajectory during the outbound portion of the flight. And eventually, here's the moon here, so the moon's orbiting the Earth, so eventually it's going in a direction, in a trajectory to meet up with the moon as the moon continues its orbit around the Earth. So you can check this out on NASA's website. It's super duper cool. So again, we'll continue to monitor the mission in addition to, of course, bringing you weather updates as well. And of course, we've got a lot going on today, so we'll continue to keep you updated throughout the day as we work our way through our Friday and into our next system. You can always check for the latest forecast right on the VNL weather app. We've got tools there. If you just scroll down on the home screen, you can check out road conditions that right there. You can check out the latest river levels too as we get into next week. Obviously the radar, and we do video updates that we post to our app as well, so you can check on the latest updates on the forecast. And in addition to that, of course, you can head to our website. We do that every day here on Valley News Now as we take a look at road conditions and our sky cams as well. A good idea if you do have some travel plans here in the coming days, especially the coming 36 to 48 hours, to make sure you know what you're heading into. Check those road conditions. And, you know, at some point, if you don't need to travel, it's probably a good idea not to. When we're starting to pick up that heavy snow, it's going to be pretty tough to travel through some of that as we head into the next couple of days. And, you know, remember those winter driving skills, of course. I hope you didn't take your winter survival kit out of your car yet. Want to make sure that you are having a full tank of gas, your cell phone's fully charged, and communicate to the folks you're traveling to meet when you leave, when you expect to be there, and let them know what your route is too. That way, if you run into trouble on the road, they know where to send folks out to look for you and help you out during this round. And again, you know, if you can stay put or travel when the time is a little bit better, again, right now or maybe more on Easter Sunday, those are the better times. It's not going to be perfectly free of ice and snow, but it does ramp up tonight, with worse travel probably overnight and into the first half of the day on Saturday especially. So hope you have a great Easter weekend and that you travel safely if you do need to hit the road. And we'll be back next week. I'll be back next week with an update on the latest conditions heading into next week, how we may be melting this snow that we pick up over the weekend. And of course, we'll be checking in on the Artemis crew as well as they are working their way to the moon. I believe on Monday, they'll be starting to enter the moon's orbit. Don't quote me on that. Day 6 of the mission, I believe, is when that happens. So again, we'll continue to monitor the moon and the chances for snow throughout the day today. You can check for the latest forecast update from meteorologist Summer Schnellbach at noon. And meanwhile, we'll have another news and weather update right here on Valley News Now coming up in about 10 minutes at 11 a.m. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you back again here on Monday. This has been your weather update brought to you by 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota.
There's no such thing as a small disaster. So when you call 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota, we come prepared to restore your life back to normal. From burst pipes to unexpected mold discoveries or fire damage, when things couldn't be worse, we come to you with our best. With empathy, local expertise, and a truck full of seriously powerful equipment. 1-800-WATER-DAMAGE of North Dakota. Restoring what matters most. 701-670-2022.